1970 Dodge Charger RT 440 Magnum automatic transmission. 1969 Dodge Charger 440 automatic transmission. Graveyard Motors is open for business. That's right, folks. Honest Mark coming at you here from beautiful sunny downtown Springfield, Oregon, letting you know we are officially open for business. I have partnered with Cottage Grove Chrysler, and together are bringing you this wide variety of Mopar. You got a Mopar you want to sell, you call Honest Mark. You got one you want to buy, Cuda, Challenger, Charger, Roadrunner, whatever it is, you call me up, I'll find the one for you. That's because it's Graveyard Motors. You've been waiting a long time for it, and we are back now. You want a Charger, a Challenger, a Roadrunner, or a GTX, you tell me. This water coming down is a blessing. I call it holy water from heaven itself, telling me I am doing the right thing. So don't hesitate. Call up Graveyard Motors, order your peach low mile one owner, check the Carfax. Just kids, it wasn't around back then.
Beneath the fog, behind the rust, sometimes they come back. There's only one internationally recognized Mopar master, Mark Warman, joined by his friends, family, and dream team, the Ghouls.
Nobody wants to take on the stuff that we take on.
Reviving the past,
100% untouched survivor.
resurrecting the icons of American muscle,
We are the Shaolin priests of Mopar.
uncovering stories,
It's the baddest car we have here.
and restoring dreams,
The most iconic muscle car on the planet.
putting cars back where they belong. On the road.
Here we go.
Beyond a passion,
Oh, that's wild.
one man's obsession with Mopar perfection. This is Graveyard Carz.
One of the very first cars I bought so far for Graveyard Motors is this 1970 Cuda. This is an original 1970 Cuda 446 barrel automatic transmission, one of 853 made. It's loaded with good stuff. It's an axle package car, 355 gears, AM8 track. It's got the rally instrument cluster. It's got the standard white seat like we just did in Cindy D'Agostino's car. Most importantly, it's SC7 in violet, so it's a good car. The car has a great history to it. There's a photo I've got of that car in 1972 with the graduating class from a military school standing around it. It is the neatest picture. I love that kind of history. The whole town knows about this car, where it came from. That car's worth around 40 to 50 grand the way it sits right now. Now, this car sat in a barn in Michigan for many decades, and it was not well protected. And as a result of that, we have a seized up engine. If it turns out that the engine is not savable, take that number of, say, 40 to 50 grand and make it 20 to 30 grand because it doesn't have the original engine. So I've got Doug and Marty disassembling and finding out where is the stuck point. Is it up high in the valve train? Is it in the cylinder heads? Is it down below the deck? Is it the pistons in the cylinders? Is it the crankshaft? This car looks like it was not well protected, and we're gonna find out.
Definitely been rodents in here by the looks of those wires.
Rodents?
Yeah, there's teeth marks all over them.
They've all been chewed in half, huh?
Oh, it's coming off in one piece.
When we first got the car in, I did have Doug take a breaker bar out there to it and try to at least see if it would move or budge. It's very important that an engine turns over and rotates.
It's not all there, though.
Well, I got 90% of it.
Looking at it, it looked like it was drug up off the bottom of a riverbed, so I really had no hope that it would turn over, and it didn't. At this point, what I'm hoping to do is continually take parts off of the engine to a point where we can get the assembly to rotate. We can take a look at the valley and make sure it's not freeze cracked, things like that, so that I can describe it accurately when I go to sell it. Because if I tell you something's rebuildable, it needs to be rebuildable. Because I stand behind all of my sales. If I sell you a car and it isn't what I said, I'll give you your check right back and pay shipping both ways. I don't play games. I'm here to sell the cars and make people happy, make sure that they know what they're buying and that it truly is what they're buying.
Some critter's been in there, stoking away for winter snacks.
Oh.
I'm not sure what kind of nuts those are.
My guess is It's been parked in a bad environment for a long time with rodents all over this thing, nesting throughout the car, relieving themselves at will. That's why things like the valve covers are rusted completely out.
I suspect a raccoon, honestly, by the size of the feces. Squirrels and rats and mice are really common. I have found some snake skins a few times. No live snakes, thank goodness, but it makes me a little nervous sometimes working on these cars that come from all over the country, what kind of spiders I might find. I haven't found any deadly spiders, but I'm always keeping my eyes open for something I don't recognize coming out from underneath the dash.
Where do the biggest spiders come from?
Probably Midwestern tarantulas. Their legs are bigger than the big spiders we have here in Oregon.
Okay, here's our plan now, Marty.
Okay.
I'm getting some bigger tools.
Oh, I love that tool.
We're gonna try to pry this exhaust manifold off.
Just be an animal and take it off?
No, we're gonna add some heat. So in this case, one of the exhaust manifold bolts was fused to the manifold itself. So the only way we could get this apart was to use heat from a torch.
I like fire.
Okay, so what we're gonna do, get the torch going, we're gonna melt that bolt out of there and pry that exhaust manifold off there. That's our goal.
Let's see if it works.
Wish us luck. We're going in hot.
We put some tin down here on the floor so we don't melt the concrete too bad, hopefully. Sparks are probably gonna
fire
travel,
now.
so.
Got a pry bar ready, Marty? Are all the bolts off the back, Marty?
Yep. Well, it's not moving yet. There it moved.
I gotta stop smoking. Ooh, I got it. Thank you, Marty.
Nice.
Yeah. That's one way to get a manifold off.
Where's the marshmallows at?
So you notice Mark isn't here to enjoy the aroma of all of the burning rat urine that's coming out of this engine as we're heating it up. I guess he's working with Josh in the metal shop right now. That's real convenient, isn't it? All right. The operation was a success.
I'm impressed. I wasn't sure that was gonna work.
Okay, so we got your side opened up. Now, let's see how my side goes, right? Here we go. See if mine will pop off there. Sweet. 2 for 2. Look at that. I love it. I love it when something actually happens, right?
Yeah, that was nice.
When a plan comes together.
You know how these engines aren't exactly in the middle of the car. That side's a lot closer to the shock tower than this side is.
Oh, you're saying my side was easier?
No.
What was?
Well, yeah, your side definitely was easier,
It's the steering box. The steering box causes the engine to have to shove over to the right.
Right.
A couple inches.
But my manifold won't clear the studs on the side of the head.
Ah.
We're gonna have to lean the motor about 1/4 of an inch to get that manifold off of the studs so that we can get to the head bolts, because the head bolts are right underneath that exhaust manifold.
That is correct. Thank you, Marty, for that. Okay, another valve cover off. Look at that. It's all in one piece. I don't think we can salvage this one. More junk.
Today, Josh is going to be installing the firewall and upper cowl panel on a 1970 Cuda. This is originally a 383 4-speed car. We've featured it in past seasons several different times as we go through all the different metalwork. It's just such a large project that we wanted to be able to share with the audience exactly some of the steps that we've had to do on this car and how to do them. So just to set up a quick reminder on what car this is, Doug and I a few years ago had found a Cuda in the Craigslist ad online, and it was in Eugene, so we went over and checked it out, and that's the car, the one that we bought and drug back. Now, when we got this car, it was really rusty. As I had mentioned, we did a lot of metal work. We've shared a lot of it with you. Last season, we replaced the main floor step wells, under seat pan. I think at that time, Josh showed everybody how the POR15 works. We had thought the right frame rail in the rear was okay originally, but it was buckled at some point and straightened out, and they can lose their integrity. So we very carefully had him dissect that rail out of there and install the new one without affecting those other panels. But that kind of catches us up to where we are now. So now that we have the car structurally sound with those panels replaced, we can take out the firewall and the upper cowl panel, which need to be replaced. We have a slight advantage over the way the factory did it, in that we're only doing one car, right? We're not doing a million cars. Originally, those panels in between the upper cowl panel and the firewall had very little paint on them, and that's why I like this one rusted out. We have the advantage of going through there and scuffing it and painting it and jamming it all pretty. Yeah, it's not OEM, but it's nice and it's gonna last. So before we married the two panels together, we had Will mix up the FJ6, jam all the parts, get them ready, and now it's back out, and that's where we're at right now with Josh.
So right now I'm throwing some screws in our upper cowl and firewall. This is gonna go ahead and set it in place. I've already done a pre-fit, and now that I've pre-fit it, I'll go ahead and weld them together before installing them in the car. This way I am able to weld completely across the front because I have full access from the bottom. That way it'll have the factory appearance that this was never replaced. This is a new thing for me. This is the first firewall I've had to replace while I've been here. This car is extremely rusted out, and this is one of the casualties of all the rust. But it's turning out really good. I'm really happy with it. All right, now that I've got this all screwed together where it needs to be, it's time to weld it together. So the first thing I'm gonna do with this is I'm gonna do a couple spot welds on the bottom and the top of this to anchor it in place. I can't just go ahead and straight weld it. If I weld from one side to the other, there's a good chance I could break a screw from the metal moving, and then all my pre-fitment would be worthless.
Now, if you go back and you look at any old footage of the manufacturing plants for these cars, they had big spot welders, not like the stuff we have. Stuff that we have works great, but it's designed for repair. It's not designed to be building cars. When you have a spot welder that's designed to be building a car and a million just like it, it's a huge piece of equipment that can get anywhere. It has long tongs that can reach anywhere. What we have to do, because we have the advantage of those panels being off, we can duplicate all those spot welds just like it, same effect, just not the exact same process. So we can go through now very carefully and put all of the factory spot welds in all the factory locations so you'd never know somebody was there.
All right, now that's all welded, time to get it installed.
So what you're looking at right here is the replacement new firewall from about here down. Well, what you can see is this lip all the way down to here. This is all brand new. The upper cowl panel is his original upper cowl panel, but has patches in it in different areas because it did have rust. Some of these pieces along here are even new. He had to metal finish them off so that when we were finished with it, we still had his original numbers, his original panel, but it would have all the rust repaired on it and it would go on and fit like it's supposed to. Now, when you saw us do the catalog Cuda, the 71 Hemi Cuda, that one was different because we weren't preserving anything on it except for the inner structure for the roof. This one, we had a lot of metal that we did want to, even though it looks like we're doing a ton, we still had a lot we wanted to preserve. So this kind of threads together more like a puzzle, and that's why I want to show you this. Firewall, new. Upper cowl panel, original. But these two normally, like on the catalog Cuda, we put this on, then we put this on. We did it in stages, stacking, layering, like building a house. In this case, I wanted to be able to preserve, if we can, the original spot weld look. These were spot welded across here from the factory. If you go out back and you look at any of the cars, you'll see that these are factory spot welded. So now when you're done, you have all the factory spot welds in the factory locations. This whole look through here is factory. That's a beautiful look when you can obtain that, but the only way you can do it is by having the upper cowl panel and the firewall done at the same time, not on the car, because you could never get around it with the pinch weld, like you can right here. The spot welder wouldn't get those areas. They're not accessible. If you turn to the side, you can see where he's going to be doing some welding, but this can't be welded yet for the simple fact the only area that this welds into is the cowl side panel or the hinge area. So he has the provisions there for it. You see a lot of scratching. That's because he's pre-fit this thing about 50 times. He's been bugging me to get this done so he can put the car together. Flip it around. Again, look at the nice look for the factory spot welds that you wouldn't get with a MIG welder. These are just really well done. You can see it's pulled the metal in all these areas. That's what a spot welder does. That's how you can tell it hasn't just been welded and ground down. Again, something important to point out, we still have his original cowl panel, so his numbers are there. But because these two were separated at one point, we were able to get in here and do all the jam work. So Will has it painted the sassy grass green inside here. The bottom side of this panel, yeah, it's not OEM, but it'll never rust, I promise you that. So overall, what you're looking at is a complete firewall and upper cowl panel that needs to be grafted onto the car. And there are so many intricate intersecting points when you put an assembly like this in where you still have original aprons and you still have original cowl side panels that I wanted to show you exactly how that threads into place, and then I can cut him loose and get that welded up. Now the firewall and upper cowl panel. They're gonna come over here. It's gonna take two guys. I'm probably gonna end up helping him at this point if Wills doesn't have time. It's gotta go up in the air and it's gotta come down. As a unit, it has to be woven in between the inner fender and the cowl side panel. It's gonna weave down, come down through here, wrap around this thing. That's where all those spots are I was showing you that needed to be welded are. This is the most difficult way of doing one, but when you're done, it's also the least obvious way of doing one, the less footprint that we were ever there. See, normally, like I said, on the catalog Cuda, these were all new. New front frame rails, new AMD inner fenders, new radiator support, new everything. So at that point, you can put the cowl in, get it all in place, do all your spot welding, and then move forward. In this case, these are great established values. They're good original parts. We're gonna try to do the old bewitch trick where you pull the tablecloth out and leave everything sitting there. We're doing the reverse. We're gonna take the upper cowl panel and the firewall, and we're gonna slide them into here. The intersecting points are here. Some of it will also be MIG welded. But this welds to the cowl and upper panel, as well as this stiffener brace gets welded in. You can see where they were originally. This is the windshield reinforcement or the A-pillar reinforcement area right through here. Now it'll weld down through here, which is your A-pillar corner. This is the upper part. This is where the hinge goes on. You can see these are the hinge mounts right here. This is the area that usually rusts out on a lot of E-bodies and B-bodies and A-bodies, so we put the entire piece on here. All the way down through the cowl side panel, all the way down to the bottom where it's going to meet into this right here, which is your floor pan, and the same thing on the other side. Because this ain't no GM poop box. This is a unibody Chrysler product, and every single one of these areas collectively build the structural integrity of the car. Each one relies on the other one to get stronger and stronger and be able to resist a collision, hold the door square in the car, the things that have to happen. So once we get that cowl panel in place, I'll show you how we're going to weld it together. You can already see a lot of the plug weld holes that provisions have been made, but you can also see a lot of the original spot weld holes that he's gone off center on. In here, to hold this thing established before he cut the original cowl side panel out, you see he's welded in this angle iron brace. It goes from A-pillar to A-pillar. It's exactly in place and welded while the cowl is in it. You don't want these things collapsing a little bit or going out, because then you would have to remeasure, rehang everything to be able to move forward. In this case, we know what we had in the way of an established value. So we're gonna run it over there. We're gonna put the cowl panel in it, get it welded into place. At that point, he can move forward with fitting doors and fenders, doing final welding on wheelhouses and quarter panels. So I will go get him and we'll get her done. All right, so how many times would you say you fit this on there so far?
Oh man, I've probably had her in 20 or 30 times.
Oh no, hang on a second, let me get my hand under here. Okay, so I go to the inside here, we weave this down through here. Oh, look at that, just falling together. And you got your alignment holes falling in?
Yeah.
Boy, that sure fit nice, good job.
Oh, thank you very much.
So you go ahead and set your screws there.
All right.
So what he'll end up doing is getting this thing screwed into place with the holes that he's already got. And then once that's in place, he'll use some clamps to pull the metal nice and tight, and that's when he'll start welding. But this is the proper way to do one of these. This is what it's supposed to look like. That's how it goes in. All right, thank you, sir. Sure like these square heads a lot better.
Oh, me too. They don't strip out very much.
And one thing, folks, you can go too much with these when you're using an electric tool. These guys are professionals. You could run it in so far that you strip it out. They're just sheet metal screws. Then you got to make a new hole because it won't hold. So if you just hear me just barely letting it ratchet at the end, that's because I don't want to strip it out. Okay, so we've got it screwed into place. Are you going to use vice grips on the side here?
Yeah, I'll use vice grips on the side, and then I still got a couple screws along the bottom that'll hold that in place.
All right, so what I'll do is if you want to go ahead and put a clamp on this one, and one on your side, then you won't need me out here babysitting you anymore.
Yeah, sounds good.
Not that he really needed me because I don't even know what I'm doing. I just look good on camera. Isn't that right?
Oh yeah. I mean, you know what you're doing. You've taught me a lot already.
Ah, you just saying that. Sure, I'm a metal craftsman. Well, yeah, I'm a metal craftsman.
Here's a vice grip for that side.
Thank you, sir. Now, these guys are light years ahead of me. Maybe I teach them one thing, they teach me 10, so it works out pretty good. At the end of the day, it's a good team, right?
Hey, we're a team.
So I'm okay to blast out of here. You're gonna do some MIG welding on the big holes, spot welding where you can. So he's gonna come through here where you see these big holes, and he's gonna do MIG welding. Again, he's gonna get it nice and tight up against there. And then once it rounds this panel here where the upper cowl panel meets the cowl side panel, he'll spot weld all the way through here, and then he will call me back out. He won't need to, but you can go ahead and put in your baffles.
Okay.
And now once you have your baffles in place and you have, of course, what you're saying, you're gonna start moving towards the back, which is putting the quarter panel on, right?
Okay. Yes.
Wheelhouse, fitting it to the wheelhouse, all that.
Yep.
And the only reason he hasn't done that yet is because he has to have the door in space where it belongs. And to do that, you have to have the fender in space. And to have the fenders in space where they belong, you gotta have a cowl panel in place.
Oh, yeah.
So we did it a little bit unorthodox, but this is so much better repair than if you just panel for panel for panel. Because right now you'd never know that we put a cowl panel or a firewall in this car.
No, I mean, I've got her looking as factory as possible.
So I am going to leave you with that, my friend.
Sounds good. Thank you for your
And I'll
help.
be
I
back.
always appreciate it.
You're welcome. Kind of stuff we do.
After removing the valve covers, we have to take the rocker shafts off so that we can get at the head bolts to pull the heads off. I'd love to hear the history on this car. I've worked on cars that have been underwater and flooded, and this is kind of what this seems like to me. But regardless, we're moving forward.
This engine is just nasty. It's the nastiest one I've seen. I mean, we've had them packed full of stuff before, but not quite like this.
Those are some really rusty push rods. They're almost rusted in half.
Man, those really have some chunks out of them.
They were almost rusted into the lifters. I think the lifters are rusted to the camshaft. How many years did you get loose?
Head bolts?
Yeah.
All of, well, no. There's 5 of them that are behind that exhaust manifold. We're still gonna have to get that out of the way.
Okay.
There are things that are crucial. That block is crucial. The pistons, I don't care. The crank, I don't care. All replaceable stuff. That block's gotta be good.
Is that the exhaust falling off?
Yeah.
Nice. Another nut. That one's kind of pretty.
What is it, an acorn?
Oh, what kind of nut is that?
I think it's an acorn.
You guys know what kind of nut that is?
What was the answer? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
What kind of nuts are these?
When you're selling a car, you want to get the highest dollar that you can for it, and you also want the people on the other end to know what they're getting. My thought is put a car together so it looks like a car. People can see what they're buying. I can walk around it, inventory it, and describe it honestly. So that's why I'm putting these cars back together again, just for the purpose of selling them, but we're not restoring them.
Looks to me like both of us have got a stuck valve on one of these heads,
Yeah.
on each of these heads. I am really curious what the cylinders are gonna look like in this.
Yeah.
And the bottom end. I'm not sure where this thing's been sitting, but I'm also curious what's gonna come out of the oil pan with this having been opened.
Wonder if it even has oil in it. Nope. No oil. Lots of rust.
There's a lot of rust on that dipstick. Dang,
No oil. Somebody just didn't love it, right?
that's for sure. Whoever had this for a while fell out of love with it.
Oh, I guess people get busy in life, right?
Yeah, I don't know how they could have fallen out of love with this thing though.
No kidding. Oh my God, no
Oh, look
way.
at
I can't believe that. It came loose.
Look underneath that head.
There we go. We'll see what's inside. Oh,
Wow.
God, look at the corrosion in those cylinders.
Look at that.
There's
Something's missing.
Ho, you were right about the valve. I've been working on cars my whole life, and I gotta say, I've never seen anything like this. Each one of the cylinder heads was missing a valve, and one of them, I can't even see it inside the cylinder anymore.
Maybe that's why it got parked. I think it just rusted and fell off, personally.
I can't find the valve. It's not there.
Oh, look at that piece.
What is it?
That is a flake off of the top of that valve.
Metal head gaskets. Look at that, Marty.
That's pretty cool.
I'll bet that's original.
Oh, I would guess this motor's never been taken apart.
Okay. Sorry, Mark. I broke it.
Man, those spark plug wires are tougher than you'd think.
Yeah, they are. Not too tough for a squirrel, right?
Nope.
Coming up, Dougie and Marty are going nuts to save this 440 6-barrel engine.
There's a lot of rust in there too.
Meanwhile, in metal, Josh continues to forge ahead on a different 1970 Cuda, while the team battles the ravages of rust on 2 different 70 Cudas. Mark wonders if the investment car he's been banking on is going to pay off.
If I didn't know about a block, I wouldn't pay for a numbers car.
All right, so today, getting ready to weld the firewall in. You saw me and Mark throw it in yesterday. It went extremely smooth. A lot of that looks really easy because I've taken so long to pre-fit this, move all the metal that needed to be moved so it fit just how it needs to fit. Now I'm gonna throw a couple extra clamps on there, get the metal nice and tight for my MIG welds. Then after we get her anchored in place with the MIG welds, we'll go ahead and get her spot welded in. So time to get to it. All right, after this, there's no going back. She's gonna be in place.
Something that I've grown to appreciate a lot is the metal shop team. These guys are from all over the place in the world of collision. One guy was a specialist on Chevrolets, another one did Hondas, but they bring a lot to the table when you have that much experience. I still learn things today, ways to get things done that are the path of least resistance and the best end result. That's what you see when you see all of these guys working on a car together.
Now I got the top all welded in. Gonna go do a couple plug welds on the bottom to get that all anchored, and then it's time to spot weld. Oh, that went perfect. Now that it's all in place, not gonna move anywhere, time to go ahead and spot weld this thing in.
So I liken building a car to like building a house. It's making sure that the foundation, the thing you start with, has to be square and plumb and true, right? If that's perfect, then you can go ahead and build up. That's what we have now with our lower structures. Time to build the walls. In this case, on a car perspective, the walls are the quarter panels, the rear body panel, the vertical lock support that holds that. Those are all collectively make up the walls. After that, you can put things like roofs on, and a roof's a roof. Whether it's a roof on a car or a Dutchman panel, that's the roof, and that comes after this. The quarter panels have been on back order for the 70 and 71 Cudas. So what you see Josh doing now is converting the 72 to 74, which is available and we have in stock, over to be a 70-71 style. And the only difference between them is the side marker. So what we do is go out back, cut out an old quarter panel that we know we're going to replace the whole thing on, cut that out and graft it, metal finish it off nicely on the quarter. Was it hard to get the heads off?
It was challenging.
And your exhaust manifolds come right off?
Well, we worked them out.
Oh, looks like a lot of caca in there. There's a lot of rust in there too.
Yes.
Good grief. God dang. I've seen some bad ones, but I don't know if I've seen one that bad before.
You think that's pretty bad? You think that's pretty bad?
Where are the heads, by the way? Yeah.
Yeah, check these out. This is pretty cool, Mark. This is pretty cool. Check this out. We got holes. It's got holes in the head. That's crazy, huh?
Where's the valve? Where's the piece? You got two of them out.
Well, Marty got one, but I didn't. I didn't get so lucky. My valve was gone, missing in action.
What,
MIA.
well, what head am I looking at?
This is passenger, that is driver.
So it was the number 3 cylinder?
Yep.
What we're looking at, folks, there is it would appear that at some point, perhaps a broken timing chain, we're going to find out shortly, something sent the valve careening. Can I use that word, careening?
Yeah.
Into the piston. Beat the hell out of the top of the piston, but didn't break it, broke the valve, and then after that, it continued to run, and it disappeared.
Dissolved.
Yeah. Well, there may have been a remnant of it left in the cylinder, not after 40 years of this. You need some carbon?
I don't need any carbon.
You want to do carbon dating on that? Look, all we want to do is be able to say when we run an ad for the car that the engine does crank over, there doesn't appear to be any signs of freeze braking. That's very important. But we got to get it at least where it'll crank over. Now, in my opinion, if we can get it to crank over, then why not replace the cam and the lifters with a used one out of a junky motor out back. I want you to go ahead and take the front end of the engine apart.
Okay.
Doug, you grab a vacuum cleaner, suck everything out of here, everything you can possibly get out, scrape the walls, clean it, vacuum it, get them as clean as you can, mystery oil.
Okay.
By that time, he should have that cam darn near ready to come out of there, and we'll see if we can get this thing to turn over.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
right
I'm
on.
going to go back and I'm going to work on a 1970 Cuda tribute car that's getting a lot of metal work on it. All
Or
right.
not.
Gentlemen, come get me when you're done. I got work to do. I'm a businessman. I definitely think the reason for a spot welder at the manufacturing level was the best penetration of metal, so it was the strongest, but it was clean. And that's what you can appreciate when you look at this car and you see the cowl panels as they're married together. Look at how sanitary all of the low spots that are supposed to be there from spot welding are there. You don't fill those. You go out and look at a factory car that's welded up, they're all full of that ripple look. That's factory, but it's clean, it's sanitary. Standing back and looking at it, you can appreciate why the manufacturer did it the way they did it and why we're trying our best to emulate what the manufacturer did. All right, so one of the first parts we're going to put in is the rear body panel. That's going to give us that rear structure that we need for the quarter panels to have some support in the back.
Right.
After you put this in place, you want to put your vertical lock support in place. And you can see very clearly that's just going to weld to the floor. Going to weld in through here, and it's going to go something like that. I'll show you that now because once you put the body panel on, you won't be able to see it. That's basically how that will go. But in the meantime, we've got our rear body panel. If you look, we have all of our provisions and everything. These are the wire loom provisions. Good job, by the way. Why'd you grind all these off for?
So I can spot weld it.
So we can spot weld it. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he cleans the metal off anywhere there's going to be a spot weld or if there's going to be a MIG weld. So that's why you see all these through here. Up here you see all of these holes. This is for the sole purpose of plug welding.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yep.
And then of course, when we go up here, classic 7071 taillight panel, there's nothing in here because this is our trunk opening eventually. Our trunk comes down and closes over that. Are you ready to place the first piece?
Yeah, I'm ready.
And in fairness, he has pre-fit the heck out of everything, but this is our last pre-fit and then weld. So why isn't this ground down? If you're gonna spot weld in between here, how come this side isn't ground?
It'll burn through the paint.
Then why would you do that side? So
Because I need the spot weld on the outside and the inside where it's gonna connect.
Well, you're the boss. Okay, so that goes right there, and then I got my screw hole. Okay, so that gives us our rear structure from the standpoint of the quarter panel supports. This is the vertical lock support, so the trunk latch goes right here, in case you're wondering. That's what's gonna grab this up here. Okay, so with that, he's gonna install the vertical lock support. That actually slips up underneath this lip here, and then he installs the screw in it. Okay, so he has the vertical support in place. He's not gonna weld it down. I think he's just gonna screw it down so we have a little strength right now. Again, our goal is gonna be to pre-fit all the sheet metal for the last time, and if it's pre-fit right, take off what you need to so you can begin the final weld. Is that correct? He's the best. Perfect. We're ready to do the quarter panel. Front's gotta go on first, folks. Gotta lap around that front corner and through the belt line. There's an area there where there's a tab. Okay, I'm looking good so far here. Good. And that's perfect. Okay, so he's gonna set a few screws, and our process is we're gonna do the left quarter, the right quarter, the Dutchman panel. Once those are in place, then we can do the fine tune, the last fine tune things that we have to do, and he can get cut loose welding. Okay, we're gonna do a right-hand quarter. Now, right-hand quarter goes on. I'll let you start at the front as always. I'm looking good back here. Beautiful, this has gotta come a little, yep, how you looking?
Looking really good.
Right on the money, honey. And that's the way you do it when you pre-fit it. He's gonna set the screws for it. Next part we're gonna put on is gonna be the Dutchman panel, and that's the key piece. We'll check our door gaps. We need to put the Dutchman in place and check it against the reveal of the trunk lid, plus the trunk lid against the reveal of the quarters. If all those are lined up, he's ready to go and start welding.
Yeah.
Did you just stare at the camera again also?
I
like your style.
guess.
I like your style. Let's do it together though, just
Okay.
for fun, right?
That was good.
All right, let's put a Dutchman panel on.
All right.
Okay, so this is gonna be the Dutchman. He's gonna pass it through to me. We can't close the trunk lid right now. So he's just gonna pass it through, go up under here and slide it, right? Just a little bit.
Just slide her on into place.
Then it's gotta come back over this lip. Okay, hang on, get crazy. You guys who body men get so damn crazy. Okay, I'm in position. Beautiful. So it had a nice fit on your first pre-fit, a real good dish to it?
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay.
So once I get that clamped into place, we'll have nice tight gaps, get these quarter panels sucked in the rest of the way, and they'll be ready to weld.
Okay, so basically where we're at right now is he can run his screws and his clamps back into place. Once they're in place, you get the lines where you want them. I will come over and we'll do a final sign off on it. We'll check the door to quarter gap, Dutchman to trunk gap, side to side trunk opening gaps. And if those are all good, I believe at that point we can go ahead and weld it up. And then all that's left is a roof skin and this can go over to mud.
Yep, it'll be all done.
I'll be in my office torturing people.
Oh, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you for your help.
You bet.
Here we go. We're going in. So without knowing what's going on in the bottom of the engine, Mark wants us to get the lifters and the camshaft out of the way to determine what is actually causing the engine to be frozen in place. I have no hope that we're even going to be able to turn this engine over until we rip it completely apart. You ever do this, Marty? Vacuum out your engine?
I don't think that I've ever actually had to do that to any of my engines.
This looks like the remains of a campfire.
It does. Get as much of that out of there as you can, because I want to soak that with some penetrating fluid and see if I can get any of those lifters to come loose. That cam is not going to come out of there if we don't get those lifters to move. Man, that piston is all the way down, and it was practically full of that white fluff.
How we looking?
It's in there.
Okay. What are we going to put in there? Some magic oil?
Magic oil.
Magic oil. I'm going to put some of this on the lifters. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit right here. Pour in some of this miraculous, marvelous, mysterious oil. Made a mess.
It's full?
It's full.
Perfect.
And people talk about stuck lifters, right?
Yeah,
Stuck
those
lifters.
are stuck, all
Yeah.
right.
Oh, no! Look at that. This always happens when I say it can't be done.
Well, there's only 15 more.
Still to come. Can Dougie and Marty achieve the miraculous?
It's not a waste of time because we know what the answer is.
But is this engine headed for the salvage yard?
At this point, I just need to sell it and tell him what we got.
Will Mark recoup the costs of his investment when a numbers matching Mopar may be dead on arrival?
If I didn't know about a block being rebuildable or savable, I wouldn't pay for a numbers car.
Find out when Graveyard Cars returns.
Yeah, so it's not a waste of time because we know what the answer is, that we're gonna have to take the engine out. Well, two things. I could put the car online for sale right now, right? And just say, we don't know about the block. Well, somebody else, if I didn't know about a block being rebuildable or savable, I wouldn't pay the extra money you're gonna pay for a numbers car. So we're gonna take the engine out, send it to our guy up in Washington that's doing our engines, Let him go ahead and bake it, take it apart, mic it, and do a Magnaflux. And just find out, does it need to be bored 30 over? Can we save the cylinders? Does it need 8 sleeves? We just want whoever it is buying it to know. Now at that point, I may have already sold it, who knows? But I will sell it with the numbers matching engine if the engine can be saved. And if it can't, then I'll sell it as a non-numbers matching engine. But either way, at least now we can give the honest answer to whoever's gonna buy it. So it wasn't a complete waste of time. Take a bow, you guys did good.
Bow?
Sure, there you go, yeah. Thank you. Go ahead and clean the mess up. You can take that out to the rack, get the engine out of it. We'll call our guy up north and see if we can't get that engine rebuilt. So our 70 Cuda, he now has all of the back sheet metal on it and is ready for me to sign off so that he can do his welding. He's doing some final adjustments on the hood, so I can sign off on that in a minute. I just saw a couple of things earlier. But I wanted to show you what I come out here and look for to make sure he is okay to do the welding on it. I walk up to a car like this, and I eyeballs it. I get my eyes on it. I walk around. I make sure that my reveal from the bumper to the rear body panel is the same from side to side. And it is, which is better than the factory ever did, by the way. This, by the way, isn't the final bumper that we'll be using, but it is an original bumper. We wanted to make sure that we had the fit to an original bumper. Although the AMD bumpers are beautiful, I still like to fit everything to an original part just for the fitting purposes. How does it fit against the trunk lid? We have the trunk lid in place. How's our line? Our line is great. Let's look at the bottom, the other portion, this crazy valance panel. How does it fit coming this way? How does it fit going that way? It should have a datum plane where it just comes up in here like that right there and ends in the bottom of that bumper. That's the way it's supposed to be shaped. So when I stand back and you guys take a look at that, everything is symmetrical. The valance to the bumper, to the rear body panel, to the trunk lid, so I know it's good. However, what if he compromised how the quarter panels fit on the car and we don't have good door gaps, or the back window, or the Dutchman? Those are the things I have to look at. So yes, I'm good on the back end of the car. Side to side, this is a good gap. They may have to use a little bit of filler in there. It doesn't show on TV, but I can see there's just like maybe a 1/2 millimeter here and there that would need to be cleaned up, but that's what they do in mud. There's plenty of room to do that. Same thing on this side. I've got a good line from side to side, so that tells me that quarter panel is matching up with that trunk lid very nicely. Now we can kick it over to the mudroom. We won't have any complaints from them because all of this work has been done. So originally my plan was just to send the engine out to the machine shop, let them bake it alive and get everything freed up. But I know for a fact I'm not gonna build the engine myself. I don't want to. If I sell the car to somebody and they want me to restore the car, that's a different story. But at this point, I just need to sell it and tell them what we got. So we need the pistons out. So I decided we would get the engine out of the car, put it on a stand. I cut Dougie loose with a drill bit and we began drilling the pistons. And then you could collapse the piston down on the wrist pin, get the shards out of there and free it up. We did get it all cleaned up, numbers matching engine, no cracks in it anywhere. 3 of the cylinders probably will need a sleeve. The rest of them look like they would bore 30 or 60 thousandths and be fine. So now I can at least say you've got a numbers matching engine that's rebuildable. So it was well worth taking the time to do it because now I can advertise a car that reflects exactly what you're buying.